All right, so I'm 21 years old. In the last 30 days, I made about 80 grand. The month before that, I made about 72 grand. I would make a lot of fucking money lately, and I really just don't know what to think. Like, my lifestyle hasn't really changed. It hasn't for 6, 7 months. After I started making 10K a month, my lifestyle has been pretty stagnant. I feel like as I've started to make more money, my mindset on things have just completely shifted. Stopped really caring too much about the materialistic bullshit and started thinking about the reason that I even got into this in the first place, like the root for why I wanted to make money. And that was for freedom, right? And freedom can mean a lot of things for a lot of different people. For me, it was just not having to be tied down to a location, to a time, like having to clock in and clock out. Not having to listen to somebody was a big thing for me. Like I was never a good rule follower in any sense. Always fucked off in college and school, and sorry parents, I'm sure you probably don't want to hear that, but it is true, right? But at the end of the day, like I always learned a lot more outside of college than I did in. And I'm not saying that college isn't useful. Like there definitely was a lot of things that I learned when I was while I'm in college, right? But I think it's very interesting to kind of look back on things from a year and a half ago, and see where I started to where I came. Obviously, it wasn't easy. It was a lot of fucking work, a lot of sleepless nights, 15, 16, 17 hours a day, consistently for the past year and a half. But at the end of the day, I mean, I think it's all worth it. I'm at that point now where I can set my life up for the future and never have to worry about money again. And it's a very freeing feeling, don't get me wrong, but it's also, there's a lot more stress with it. Like there's so many things that I would have never have thought of a year and a half ago that are constantly on my mind now. And that isn't a bad thing in any sense. I think stress builds character. I think it builds the person you are. I mean, the best things in life are earned and are done through hard work and building discipline. Like there's sort of like a sweat equity that's kind of required to get to where you want to be. And in that sweat equity, there's going to be a lot of stressful times. There's going to be a lot of triumphs, and there's going to be a lot of failures, and there's going to be a lot of setbacks. But I think what makes or breaks a good entrepreneur is being able to handle that. And I think what makes or breaks a good person is being able to persevere through those tough times. I think that's one thing I've been able to pride myself with a lot is there's been a lot of challenges in my life with my health, with my mental relationships, you name it. Like there's been a ton of shit. But I will say the one thing that I've been very good at is being able to turn those tough times into very powerful and encouraging times for myself. I feel like there are a lot of people that they just go through some shit, and that's the biggest reason why they're even successful in the first place, is that's the motivating factor, right? The motivation, it turns into action, that action turns into reward, and then that reward turns into further motivation. You just fall in love with the process in it. And I think that was very true for me. Like, I've had all these different motivating factors to pursue business, pursue some type of entrepreneurial endeavor, and ultimately that motivating factor was what led me to take the action to begin with, was what led me to start those businesses. But it was the process of falling in love with the fulfillment, the outcome, the results that I got from taking the action in the first place that kept me going. And if I can give any takeaway to anybody that's watching this video, you don't need that motivation. That's kind of a myth. There's a lot of fucking days that I wake up and I don't want to work, but I do it because I want the outcome. I want the result. I want the freedom. I want to never have to worry about bills. I want to provide my son and my daughters with a fantastic life, my future family. And of course I want all those nice things. I think everybody does, but it's very interesting looking back on it, because I don't feel like I would be in the situation I am right now if I didn't go through those painful times. And if anybody's watching this and going through some tough shit, use that as that motivating factor. And the flip side of that, right? If you're watching this and you don't have that motivating factor yet, you don't have that motivation to start something, you don't need it. You can skip that first step. You can take that action to begin with. Take the action, let the action lead to reward, and that will further motivation. You'll fall in love with the cycle of it. And I think once you understand that, it becomes very, very powerful. You can do pretty much anything you fucking want to. It's just a matter of building the discipline to take that first step. And that's what a lot of people struggle with. All these online business models, they all work. Dropshipping works, Amazon FBA works, being a growth operator or info product agency. Obviously, there's a ton of skill sets that go into it. It's not beginner friendly in any sense either. But all of them work if you stay consistent with it and you just take relentless action. My first month into every single new entrepreneurial endeavor that I pursued, ate absolute shit. Didn't make anything. But the thing is, when you keep going and when you keep persevering and when you keep taking that relentless action, something's going to click eventually. It's just a matter of when. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when that's actually going to happen, right? The thing that I see a lot of people struggling with is they just give up too early, and they also don't know how to control their own emotions. You know, a lot of those people that go through tough times, they let that control them. They kind of just, you know, kick over and put their feet up and act like a dead dog in a way, and let life just take control of them instead of taking life by the balls and making your own reality out of it. Because that's the whole thing about this one, you know, this whole life thing. You only get one shot at it, and it's up to you. And if you want to let the nuances and the bullshit control you, or if you want to take that and do something powerful with it. Right? I don't know. 2 thoughts, I guess. But it's kind of crazy looking back on shit, bro. It really is. Motivation, discipline, mindset, it's so cliche, but it's the only thing that matters. I mean, business model matters a lot too, don't get me wrong. Like, if you're in the wrong vehicle, you might not make as much as others, but I don't really think there's any wrong vehicle. People can make money, $1 million with anything. It's just a matter of applying themselves and dedicating to it fully, which most people struggle to do. But if you do, and if you dedicate and you sacrifice a few months, a few years of your life, you will not fucking regret it. I can tell you that much. You wouldn't be in a sick ass crib like this, chilling. Also, as a business expense, like, that shit's crazy. I just can come do a $10 million villa as a business expense. Like, that's so nuts to me, man. I'm very grateful, very humble to be in this situation. Took a lot of fucking years though. A lot of hard work, a lot of discipline. Anyways, if you see this video, you're watching this, and you're kind of lost right now. You don't know what you should be doing. You don't know the path that you want to take in life. No one really fucking does. No one really knows the step-by-step, the how-to get to the dream outcome where they're happy, they're rich, they got a beautiful wife with a fluffy white dog and 2 pretty kids. It's just a matter of fucking taking the first step, man. That's really all it comes out to. Take that first step and let that motivation and that action itself carry you the rest of the way, right? There's a lot of things I see people struggling with too, and one of the biggest things I see is they just they can't understand how to be alone in their own thoughts. I think one big factor for me is when I was going through a lot of those tough times, I was able to sit down with myself in a blank room and sit at a fucking wall, and no distractions, no stimulation, nothing, just to collect my bearings and figure out the best path to approach things. Like, there's a lot of people that make decisions very emotionally, and I don't think having emotions is a bad thing. I think you definitely should. Like, pain and love is very powerful. It's driving factors. I would not be where I would want to be right now if it wasn't for the pain that I felt during certain situations, the love that I felt during certain situations, the happiness, the despair. But I think what a lot of people struggle with is they just don't really know how to handle that pain. They don't really know how to handle those emotions. They don't know how to be in their own thoughts without feeling disturbed or disgusted or angry or all the negative emotions that you can think of. And I think that's the biggest issue that a lot of people face. I think that's the biggest thing that's holding a lot of people back, is they don't understand. They haven't sat down with themselves and asked themselves, what do I want out of this whole fucking life thing? And if it's to make a lot of money, that's cool, but why? Why do you want to make money? Sit down with yourself, stare at a fucking blank wall, have 0 distractions, and ask yourself those deep questions. And I'll admit, I fell in the trap a lot of times where, I would buy certain things, I would do certain things because I think it would, the people I would surround myself with, I think it would make me look cooler or more important to them. Once you gotta have that conversation with yourself, none of that shit matters, bro. It really doesn't. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing to want those materialistic things in any sense, but there's gotta be a deeper purpose, right? And a lot of people don't know what that deeper purpose is because they can't sit with themselves for 10 minutes, 15, 20, 30 minutes to ask themselves those deep questions. to ask themselves what they want out of this whole life thing. If you can't do that, you can't control your emotions, you can't handle the pain and the nuances that come to your life. I don't know, man. I mean, fuck you gonna do, bro? I think that's the only reason I'm there, right? And it isn't hard. It's not easy in any sense, but it isn't impossible. I don't fucking know. That's my 2 cents for today. I'm kind of brain dead right now. So I mean, if you're struggling with some shit in your life, if you're unclear about where you want to go, I mean, it's not a bad thing, and you shouldn't think it's a bad thing either. Because again, I mean, pain's a beautiful thing if you think about it. Pain is the more times than not going to be the motivating factor that's going to drive you to take that first step. But again, it's up to you, and if you want to encourage that and want to use that pain to do something valuable with it, or if you're just going to lay over and take it, right? So don't fucking lay over and take it.